And then I think this sounds straight up like Stand Up and Scream Asking Alexandria, if you ask me, which is weird because this isn't a heavy song. And this is where, at this point in the song, I'm like, damn, there's no breakdown. Do we have a breakdown? But then I decided no, because I didn't want it to be a song that forced a breakdown just because we're usually a heavier band. How do I want to do this? Because I do want to edit this into a YouTube video. I don't know if any of you have seen the How We Wrote Stuck. Wanted to make that a series, and I only did the one song. Or I could just not spend, 4 hours of my day editing together a YouTube video. I could literally just rip it from the stream and post it and then move on with my life and spend 4 hours working on more important shit. That's one of my things, dude. I'll find like the littlest thing and I'll spend hours making sure it's perfect for me and then post. And it's like, dude, objectively speaking, I could have spent all that time on something way more important. Okay, so this is the breakdown studio session for our song Decade. I'm gonna go through vocals, guitars, there's not a lot of guitars, the drums, and the backtracks, which is the most fun part to me. Because when I listen to songs and there's all these different elements that I love just picking out on various listens, it's like to sit down and go through and show you guys each individual layer that we wrote to create it. Like, I enjoy sharing this. So Decade, let's open up the tracks folder. Starts off with that intro, which I did just bounce everything down because originally this song was just going to be straight up, no guitars, no rock elements. It was just going to be like an electronic kind of hip hop, modern pop. I don't know what technical genre you'd want to call it, but I'm just going to say a pop song. It was just going to be a pop song. But when I made all of the verse that is in the song, but when the chorus hits, instead of going into guitars, it was just big 808s and like trap hats, and it was just like a beat. But then after I was listening to it, I'm like, this just sounds kind of dull for a VOT song. I don't really know if I want to actually have it be a pop song after all. Like, that would actually be cool to switch it up. Like, you think it's a pop song, and then out of nowhere, boom, chorus hits, and it's a rock song. Like, that would be cool. But since I spent the time working on the chorus as a pop song, I didn't want to just not use it. So then I had the idea, I'm like, well, what if I just use it as the intro? I'll put a filter over it to make it more intro sounding. But that is what this is. Why do I hear double audio? So this was going to be the chorus. Because this isn't my studio session when I was writing it. This is after I sent everything over to Sebastian, our mixer, and he mixed it and bounced out the stems. So technically what I sent him, it was like 3 or 4 different like kits, like electronic kits, and then I think there was 3 bass synths with different tones, and like I went in EQ'd and like, or did like low shelf or high pass filters. I edited the sounds, but then when I sent it to him, when he bounces out the files, he just put it all on one, which makes sense because then we'd have like 26 tracks. But for like this beat here, like there's one kick and the main clap that is a kit, and then another kit was the little that you can hear subtly, little hi-hat clicky thing. And then I had another kit that I used just a bigger boomy kick drum. But you put it all together, and then this is what the kit sounds like. Oh yeah, like that extra, like there was another kit that I used just for that little clap. There's a different tone of clap that I really liked, and I wanted like that difference. All right, I gotta back it up. And then the hi-hat, solid. And then you cut everything down into just the backing hi-hat and one of the claps to make it smaller sounding so it wasn't as big. And then, yeah, so these are the trappy hi-hats that I was talking about. And I was like, what gives it like that trappy sound? And it's like a subtle phaser effect. Just it subtly changes the EQ, like as an exaggerated version. When I was really trying to pick out hi-hats in hip hop songs, I'm like, okay, it sounds like there's a phaser on it. Second verse. Yeah, I don't know if you heard that when you listen to the song, but on the second verse, since it's a real bass and the real drums, that I didn't really, I mean, there is the synth bass here too, but because it's not like a straight electronic verse like the first one was, but I still wanted some of the electronic kit going on, so I kept that subtle background hi-hat underneath everything. It's just very subtle percussion-y stuff that I think adds to like the flow. Before I get too far into the song on just the beat, let's go section by section. All right, so this is the synth in verse 1. Just kind of the same melody over and over, but it's in the background, so it doesn't matter. But on the second half, go an octave higher, kind of a classic move. Then just go back down an octave, but then make it quiet. And then I automated a volume ramp. It's all the subtle things that I think are so fun. Because that synth, I believe, yeah, I had a synth and I'm like, it sounds cool, but it's not the tone that I want, and I didn't really know what I was after, so I put this plugin called Alter Boy on it, and you can like format shift or pitch shift sounds. So I took it and I formatted it so it's still the same octave, but it gives the perception of being higher. And then I cranked up the distortion on it, so then it had this like really gritty, like, you can especially hear it on the high note at the end here. Like it's kind of distorting a little bit because it's trying to manipulate the audio so heavily, but I liked how it sounded. And yeah, then we got big old bass synth for the verse. If you're on a phone, I don't even know if you can hear it. It's really low, rumbly, a little bit of grit on the top. Adding more distortion for this part just to give it a little bit more dynamic. Yeah, no, let's see. They put all those elements together and it's like, okay. But I love this piano that also comes in. Do, 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 do. So it's the same piano tone throughout the song, but in the chorus, I wanted it to be even more focused on the vocals. So I came up with a slightly different version of the melody and added more space between it. So it's like, so it's just a variation of the same melody, but I think it helps it sound a little bit different than the verse. The verse is all fast and connects. We got Flux. Forget what this is. Oh, that sounds so pretty. Yeah, I came across that sound when I was going through my library, and I'm like, that's pretty. But it wasn't cutting through as much, so that's where I added like a little more distortion on the piano version of it. So for the pre-chorus, cut the plucks, so then it's just like those little elements of the beat, and then the piano. I guess this, yeah, and then the synth that was in the background, but make it quiet. So it really gives a dynamic of like, oh, this is a big beat, and then it gets really small. So then when the chorus hits, it can explode. Um, yeah, then when the plucks come back in on this part too. Love that sound. Yeah, dope. This was such a fun song to make. Just try to be like more electronic based. Um, yeah, so no guitars until the chorus. So and no drums. So we can go into vocals here. Before we do, let's see what you guys are saying. That part could be an interlude to Doomed. Doomed is one of my favorite Bring Me the Horizon songs. 100%. I think it's pretty obvious, but Bring Me the Horizon is like one of the biggest influences on all of the production aspects of this new record. Like all these different sounds, gritty distortions or synths or anything, like is heavy like modern Bring Me the Horizon. Bring Me the Horizon is so cool. Okay, so vocals, we have just this one main. Originally we had a double underneath to make it sound bigger, but we were running into issues of it sounding, it just wasn't sounding right. Um, so we ended up cutting the double entirely, so it's just one vocal of Logan, but then we compressed it more to try and make it sound. See that's what that's what was weird is it was sounding too big, so we cut the dub, so it's just the main. Then it was too weak, so then we heavily compressed it to make it bigger, but like bigger in a different way because it sounded better than with the double underneath. If any of you guys don't know what I'm really talking about, so like let's just jump to the chorus quick. So this is like the main vocal. So this is one take from Logan. I keep running in place and I get nowhere, was it? And then there's another take underneath that has different effects on it as just a layer. And it's panned. Yeah, so we got these first vocals here. Years gone by, I've given all I've got inside. This can't be. And I will say it was really cool for the revision session on every song for this record. Sebastian, our mixer, instead of being like any other producer that I've heard of, he actually did like video calls with me and we sat down for hours and we dialed in the sounds of everything together. So instead of being like, hey guys, here's your song, and I'd be like, okay, so for the vocals on just this part to this part, this little part here, I want more delay, but not too much. I want some more delay and to fill the gaps. And then you have all your notes, send it to the producer. Producer does all the notes, sends it back to you. And everything else could be like exactly what you want, but that one little section you're like, no, that's not enough delay. I want a little bit more. So then they do it and then they send it back to you and then it's too much and you're like, no, that's too much. But I just really liked how Sebastian, like we sat down and I'm like, as we're playing through it, he would just have this vocal run. I'd be like, hey, keep turning it up. And you turn up the send to the delay. I'm like, okay, now turn it down. Boom. And then we found like the exact spot where I wanted the amount of delay in between vocals. So it's like, it's really cool. I feel like this is the first record that it actually sounds like how I want. Like every little detail. It's not perfect, but because that's the thing, you're always chasing perfection as an artist and you'll never get there. But otherwise you're going to spend a year fine tuning every little thing and never release the song. So at some point you got to stop. But I'm running on empty. What about my peace of mind?
I'm mentally exhausted and it feels.
Oh yeah, that's something we did too, is in between, just for this section, whenever there was an ending to the vocal, I wanted a hard cut. I really wanted it to have like a pop sound. But on that specific line, I wanted that breath in. But
What about my peace of mind? I'm
like that
mentally
breath, mind, I wanted to keep that. But I think like for here,
come by. I've given all I've got inside. This can't be healthy. I'm running on empty. What about my
you can kind of hear it in there, like there's a cut and then he breathes in, because it was all in one take, but I wanted it to like sound harsher. I don't know if you can hear that, but yeah.
It's crazy that I wanted this. Never thought that it would come to this.
I loved the grit that he had on that one line right there.
Crazy that I wanted this. Never.
Love that. Okay, so then, because like, since we were just talking about Bring Me the Horizon, this section, when my higher background vocals come in, I was really wanting it's a Bring Me the Horizon song. What was it? Was it Ludens? Yeah. So come outside. Like in one of the verses, he has his low singing, but in the background, he had like his yelly singing. So I wanted to try and have that type of vibe. Um, it was not working out, so I was like, let's just slap like fucking hella tuning and hella processing, and then I'm like, this sounds sick. I like how it sounds. So we have two versions as layers. Here we go.
What about my peace of mind? I'm mentally exhausted, and it feels like my roots have been salted.
Like that, the tuning of like salted instead of like just letting the bend be natural. Salted. It has like the notes up to it. But then on the other one, I didn't want that. I wanted it to still be like harshly tuned, but not as auto-tune sounding.
What about my peace of mind? I'm mentally exhausted, and it
That was a
feels
little
like
out.
my roots have been salted. It's crazy that I wanted this.
Then you put them together,
What about my peace of mind?
and there's like some panning going on.
Exhausted, and it feels like my roots have been salted. It's crazy that I wanted this. Never thought that it would come.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about this delay. This was a very specific thing I remember working with Sebastian on, is having these delays specifically stand out. So we have a separate track. Instead of just like the regular delay level, I wanted very specific words to be very audible in the mix. So we have just this track.
What about my peace of mind? I'm mentally exhausted, and it feels like my roots have been salted. It's crazy that I wanted this. Never thought that it would come to this.
Yeah. Yes, then you put all the vocals together
What about my peace
with his
of
low in the
mind?
middle.
I'm mentally exhausted, and it feels like my wounds have been salted. It's crazy that I wanted this.
So then for this pre-chorus, this was our main. I wanted it to have like a lo-fi effect sound. So I have his main vocal.
Don't give up, don't give up, that's what I tell myself. You're just unlucky, your time is coming.
But what I really liked about this part was doing that plugin that I was mentioning earlier, the Alter Boy, shifting his vocal to go an octave higher, and then also shifting it. It wasn't an octave lower. I think it was like 50% down. Yeah, so we have like this layer of high.
Don't give up, that's what I tell myself.
And I really wanted these layers to have tuning. If you hear his, it doesn't really have like a tuned sound.
Don't give up, that's what I tell myself.
Like especially on Tell Myself. It has that natural Tell Myself. But on the shift high and the shift mid, layers. I wanted tell myself. Really wanted harsh tuning.
That's what I tell myself. It's unlucky your time. That's what I tell myself.
Does that sound goofy on its own?
Don't give up, don't give up. That's what I tell myself. You're just unlucky your time is coming.
Don't give up. Don't give up. But then you put them together, it sounds sick.
Don't give up, don't give up. That's what I tell myself. You're just unlucky your time is coming.
I gotta figure out where is this the one? Yeah, okay. So just this one delay vocal, I didn't want it to be the main vocal, but I didn't want it to have the high shift and I didn't want it to have that lower mid shift. I think these are mislabeled. This should be the mid. This should be the low, but whatever. I wanted the delay vocal to have a slightly filtered or shifted so it's still Logan's voice, but on this little delay. I wanted it to just have more of an open sound, so I like shifted it a little bit, and then a lot of reverb tail on that to just boom, bring in that chorus.
I keep running in place and I get nowhere. Was it all for nothing? I see it all fall apart with my own eyes and realize that I've been dropped down, not ever knowing how I ever got so high. Where's the light that made me feel alive? Alive. The feel.
Yeah, so we'll move into the chorus here. That's all the vocals soloed. What do I want to start with here? I already showed you the main and the dub difference. So we just have falsettos going through. I don't know if you guys know this, but harmonies are, at least from what I've been told, and in my experience, harmonies are hella tuned all the time. So this is what
I keep running in place and I get nowhere. Was it all for nothing? I see it all fall
sounds silly on its own.
my own eyes and realize that I've been dropped down, not ever knowing how I ever.
Just to get some those frequencies in there, because it's like softer highs, because it's like a light falsetto that I did, where Logan just has like that gritty kind of belting voice. But he also does his low octave with his gritty voice.
I keep running in place and I get nowhere. Was it all for nothing? I see
That's a little cleaner.
apart with my own eyes and realize that I've been dropped.
So those are just like different octaves of the actual melody. But then I come in and do these harmonies on select lines, because having the harmony throughout the entire thing made it sound boring. But having harmonies on specific lines can help it sound more dynamic.
Was it all for nothing? Realize that I've been dropped down, not ever knowing how I ever got so high. Alive.
Yeah, so on this last bit here, I think you can hear it best in the main.
Alive.
Yeah, you can hear the tuning on that, because all the vocals, when you didn't like harshly tune it, it's like he did it like la la. It's like a little mini run, but it was like it just in a mix when you have a main, a dub, a falsetto, a harmony, and a low octave all doing it. It just didn't. It's kind of sounded messy. So it was like I had Sebastian kind of go in and like harder tune the run, so it could actually, like, in the context of the mix with the music and everything, you could actually hear the ah. But when you hear it just soloed, you can really hear that tuning.
Alive.
What does the dub sound like?
Alive.
Pretty much the same thing. But yeah, so those are the vocals on the chorus. Let me close that folder. Guitars, not a lot to really talk about here. I guess then I wanted the guitars, as you can see, it starts a little early. So I wanted a very, very slight the very beginning of it. It kind of helped it like hit a little harder. Because that's what I've learned. I learned this when working with Johnny Frank back in our first couple of albums. But if you want something to really hit, it's actually better to have a couple elements off time, because when everything's perfectly on the grid, it loses like part of that natural sound. So if you zoom way in, like you can tell, so like the kick is technically a little early, but I mean the main hit of the kick is right here. So it's actually a little late. And the bass is pretty late. This is the pick on the string, and this is the first hit of the note. So that's late, but then the guitars are early, but it just makes it go boom. Miggy, what's up? Welcome in. Yeah, guitars are just chords. The guitars aren't really that interesting on this song. Same with the bass. Just chords. I mean, I like the rhythm of it, but it's not like anything crazy. It's just bar chords, power chords. I really see something that gets caught in my head a lot is just the drum beat. The drum beat for this chorus is just a jam, dude. I spent hours tweaking every snare hit and the kick and just trying to get like the most flowing, vibey drum beat that I could find. Because there's similar things. You can have the same idea, but refining where each besides just the 1, 2, 3, 4, the basic snare hits, like where are all the extra hits at? Oh yeah, no double snare there. Dude, it's like I don't think most people can even really they even care. But it's like, so this verse, it's very similar to the chorus, but kind of like how I was mentioning at the beginning, where the synth from verse to chorus, it's the same thing, but there's just like a couple sections you either create more space or you change it a little bit just so it's not copy paste the whole time. So it's pretty similar, but I wanted there to be a little bit more breathing room in the tracks and everything else. So like just going that little open space instead of adding a kick. Otherwise, it would have been the exact same thing as the chorus. But the hi-hat's closed, more closed on this part. But once the guitars come in, the hi-hat gets a little bit more open until right before the chorus. It's more open here. And those two hits are all open. We didn't want the same dirty bass tone as the chorus, so we dialed it back for just this part of the verse. I didn't realize that. It sounds like Sebastian put like a chorus effect on it or something. Nice. Cool. And this is going on underneath. We kept the beat. But because it was kind of clashing with the kick drum, we just did like a super, like a low cut. Get all like the kick drum boominess out of there so it's not clashing. But you can kind of hear it. There's some parts where the kick drum on the kit is different than the drums. But I liked that because it just had like this like motion going on. And then you can hear some of the claps where there isn't a snare drum. I just think it sounds cool. But that's why I really liked working with Sebastian on this, because he was the one that was like, this is kind of clashing with the kick drum. It's getting muddy and messy. So we should do something about that. He was like, let's just take it out. I'm like, oh, but I love it so much. So we found the compromise of like, well, let's just cut all the low end out of the kick drum in the kit, the electronic kit. And it made it sound cool. Yeah, I really wanted that better to be a delay.
Pressure doesn't get any better. Am I running out of time? Now my body's exhausted. I thought I found hope, but I lost it. Is it crazy that I wanted this? Am I crazy now? Because I keep running.
And then also, instead of just like the regular harmonies, like this,
I keep running in place and not getting nowhere.
where you can feel his voice, like the low end of his voice. For these low octaves, I wanted to cut all that low end out. I wanted it to have more of like a crisp sound. So the low harmonies on the second verse here.
Am I running out of time? Now my body's exhausted. I thought I found hope, but I lost it.
There's more saturation and distortion on the vocals a bit. Sick as fuck.
Am I running out of time? Now my body's exhausted. I thought I found hope, but I lost it. Is it crazy that I wanted this? Am I crazy now because I keep...
Dude, that line, when Logan wrote that, he was just like, dude, is that not like so Nickelback? Am I crazy now? Because that is like the perfect melody and like just to connect it into the chorus, just bring it right in. But it just fucking hits so good. We got some screamy screams. Scream 1.
Am I running out of time?
Scream 2.
Am I running out of time?
We got a layer.
Am I running out of time?
Then we got another layer.
Am I running out of time?
Yep.
Thought I found hope, but I lost it. Am I crazy now?
Oh, yeah, we wanted to add more something different to the second chorus, so that's where I just added in like some accent screams. Love that gaso bridge. Start with the tracks. Oh, I almost forgot about that. Yeah, we have this bass synth going on in the chorus too. I love that sound. And then we got a flute that just does the same melody as the chorus piano. That's it. And then drums, kind of along the same lines that I said before. It's very similar to the chorus, but I just slightly change where an extra kick or snare would go just to give it a subtly different, like this is a new section. instead of it just being copy paste, copy paste. What's up, Skillet? Welcome in. Yep. So there's not really a whole lot going on in this section. It's just the vocals and then the delays that I wanted. We got the main.
But if I don't keep running, I'll never know I could have been if I gave in. I kill my dignity. But if this is,
Got the dub.
but if I don't keep running, I'll never know I could have been if I.
Yeah, these delays though are sick.
But if I don't keep running, I'll never know I could have been.
Panning doubles.
If I gave in, I kill my dignity. But if this is what it'll take.
Then we did a gang vocal here.
I kill my dignity.
Just like, I think I did like just four extra vocals on that.
I kill my dignity.
Yeah, so I did 2 more and I put them on the same heavy effects channel. So I could get the same tone as before, just more crisp.
I kill my dignity. But if this is what it'll take to make me feel whole.
Oh, fun fact. I really, really wanted to do this. I couldn't pull it off. I tried. I probably did 20 takes and I could not get it to sound right. This is what it'll take to make me feel like just a really gritty, make me, like kind of screamy, but not, because my scream is false chord. So when I go, take to make me, it just going from clean singing to false chord scream back, it just was not giving the same vibe as a Fry scream would do, like make me. So eventually I was just like, this sounds bad, dude. I'm just gonna hit a note. I'm just going, make me feel. So it's not, it still works, it's really cool, but it's not the idea I had going into it. It's what I wanted to do.
But if this is
What it'll take to make me.
feel whole,
Wanted to do that.
then I
No.
know.
Oh, I have the delays. You did. I really wanted those specific words delayed.
And I know, I know.
And then I think this sounds straight up like Stand Up and Scream Asking Alexandria, if you ask me. These screams sound like young Daniel, which is weird because this isn't a heavy song. I always thought it just sounds like but I actually didn't go as deep as you may think. Just kind of like a mid-low. And I didn't go as high as you think either. But it's just those specific pitches just really work well together. It was really cool. Okay, so then for the last chorus. And a background melody just to make it sound a little bit different. Because usually I really like when choruses change their melodies for the last chorus. So it's not boring. But because this is such like a long, continuous lyric, there wasn't, and it was such a catchy melody already, we were running into trouble trying to change the melody. So I'm like, maybe we should just keep it the same and then we'll just add a couple different inflections just to make it a little bit different. So I added that background melody there, which I really love. And we did have a scream on that as well, but Sebastian, when we were going through revisions, was like, it's just muddying it up. You can't really hear the background vocal. It doesn't really add anything. We should just cut that. So we did. And this is where, at this point in the song, I'm like, damn, there's no breakdown. Should we have a breakdown? But then I decided no, because I didn't want it to be a song that forced a breakdown just because we're usually a heavier band. This song actually just sounds great as it is. It doesn't need a breakdown. So for me, in my opinion, when I was writing this last section of the song, I'm like, it feels too weird to just end it on a chorus like live, just end. That was weird. So I'm like, I feel like there should be more because it's such a vibe. So let's duplicate the chorus. But then the chorus was boring because live, I keep running in place and I get nowhere, was it? Oh, just the whole thing over again was redundant. So then I'm like, okay, what if instead of Logan singing it, I'll sing it, but I'll cut some words to give it some breathing room. So I keep running in place and I get nowhere instead of it being so many words. And then I'll also go in the background. So it goes main vocal to then background. So then the focus is more on the music and the vibe and the beat of the drum, but there's still a vocal to carry it, so it's still interesting. And then I just added some screams to fill the gaps, and I also really wanted to call back to the beginning of the song with the "What about my peace of mind?" Because I thought when we originally came up with those lyrics, dude, I thought that was sick. That's an aspect of this whole video that I haven't touched on is the lyrics. So since we're almost done with the song, I'll go back and talk about the lyrics. Yeah, I wanted to throw back to that part. But yeah.
What about my peace of mind? Am I running out of time? Not even knowing how I ever got so high.
That was a hard note to hold out that long. Then I also was like, dang, I kind of like hear it ending on this even higher note. So when I tried that, it lost its effect. So I'm like, how about I hold the, I mean, it's still a high note, but let me hold the lower note and then I'll add in a high note on top of it in the background. So it's like, I want to know what that sounds like solo. That was hard. Just a little texture. But then I like the delays that come out over the beat. And Logan was the one that was like, cut the bass. So for this outro beat, instead of having like the intro, the boom, 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 boom. He's like, just cut the bass. It sounds cooler without it. I'm like, it does sound cooler without it. Good call. The little mini clap background too. Yeah, that's the music side of things. I love it. Yeah, lyrics. I think this is probably one of our better songs, honestly. Like the fact that it is 10 years as a band, and that's what the song, whole song's about, is just like our journey and our struggle. But the fact that Logan was so just honest and deliberate with the lyrics, starting off with 10 years gone by, I really like those lyrics. The only lyrics I wrote, I did the bridge, and then I did the "What about my peace of mind? Now I'm mentally exhausted. Feels like my wounds have been salted. Crazy that I wanted this. Never thought it would come to this." And Logan did all the other lyrics. We've literally given all we've got. It's been 10 years. And then throwing it back to our song "Peace of Mind," because that's Before Losing Control was our biggest. It seemed to resonate with the most amount of people. So it was like the fact that this is how we're feeling. And the last big song that people know by us is a song about this same thing, except it's from years ago where we're on our journey, we're struggling, but hey, this is what we want to do. So like, let's pick ourselves back up and let's just keep moving forward. You know, it'll be all right. This is our purpose. This is what we're doing. So it's like a inspirational message and song overall. But then it's like, well, here we are years after deciding that, and we are still struggling. So it's just kind of like, that's part of the human condition, is to, you know, you can on paper be like, yeah, I'm just going to do this and then everything will be fine. Then life happens. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, and sometimes, you know, it's never just a straight path. So that's why I really like the idea of directly referencing our previous song that's about the same topic. So, because it's like literally, what about my peace of mind? Didn't we just have a whole song about how, like, this is the only way that I will find any peace of mind, basically? Is like, that's doing this is the only peace I'm going to find in this life. So, I got to keep doing it. Here I am, still struggling, trying to do it. So, yeah, what about my peace of mind? I thought this was supposed to be my peace, but it is, but it's also still like a struggle. So it's like, what? It's confusing. Yeah, so I'm mentally exhausted is in the first verse. Now my body's exhausted is in the second verse. Because at first we were gonna do in the second verse, now I'm physically exhausted because mentally and physically exhausted. But we just felt like that lyric didn't really flow. It didn't really hit as well, and it kind of felt a little cheesy. So then I was like, well, what if I say the same thing but just differently? Now my body. I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds cool. I liked how that sounds more. And I was like, I want to repeat the same melody. So it was a struggle trying to find a lyric that fit. But then like, ooh, yeah, my wounds have been salted. Like you just put salt in the wound. You know that saying? Yeah, it's crazy that I wanted this. Never thought it would come to this, being 10 years and still being this fucking drained. I really love these lyrics, dude. This pre-chorus that Logan did.
Don't give up, don't give up, that's what I tell myself. You're just unlucky, your time is coming.
Oh, I love that so much. Don't give up. But then that's what I tell myself, you know, because it kind of sounds like it's going to be like a hey, you listener, don't give up, you know, inspirational message, right? But it's like, nah, that's what I'm trying to tell myself. I'm trying to say, don't give up. You're trying your hardest, but it's just not really clicking. It's not like exploding as hard as you're working, and you're just unlucky. I love how honest and just straight up that lyric is. You're telling yourself you're just unlucky, but your time is coming. So there is an ounce of like hope and like keep going attitude, but it's like, yeah, because luck is a lot of it. It's like you can I believe like you make your own luck, but also luck is luck. It's what it is. It just happens or it doesn't. But if you're not showing up every day, giving yourself the opportunity for luck to strike, you know, then all you're doing is completely relying on luck. If you're just going to sit around and wait, so it's like you have to be putting yourself out there, but then it's like really defeating to be like putting yourself out there for so long, as hard as you can go, and it's still like luck isn't coming. So it's just like, fuck, dude, when's luck gonna strike? But it'll happen eventually, right? It's a numbers game. The more you try, odds are it'll happen. But if you give up, then it won't happen. So that's like the dichotomy of like the mental struggle, which goes well beyond just being a musician. You know, that's just human life. I still want there to be a hopeful underlying message in our stuff, but I don't want it to just be that. I want it to be honest and be like, no, shit sucks, dude. This is hard. Like mentally, depression, anxiety, all this crap, like it's hard. But you can keep going. But there's a chance that it can get better. So that's worth hanging on to. That's kind of like the overall message that I want us to be at this point in time. So I think that's what this whole record actually kind of talks about. Not every single song. Some songs are out of pocket and wacky. Okay, so that is Decade. Hi, baby. You look so cute. You want to say hi? I got my headphones on. That's my hair. You say, look, see? Hi. You say hello. But what do you do with your other microphone? Oh,
Oh, oh,
oh, oh,
oh.
oh. Yeah, so that's Decade. I'll be doing more of these with like other songs and whatnot on future member streams. Before I go, I want to show you guys that new thing that I was talking about. Let me pull that up, and then we'll be out of here. So this is gonna be, well, I guess I can't say for 100% fact, but this is probably gonna be a song on not the upcoming album, but the album after that. So it's deep. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, this song is definitely really sad. I know it sounds so moody. I've listened to it like 1,000 times already. I love it so much. I'm glad you guys like it too. Appreciate you guys. Hope you have a good day. Thanks for being part of our team here on YouTube. And I'll catch you next week or so. Peace.